What's up, dude? How are you?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How is the off season slash preseason, I guess, for you been the
Yeah,
last couple
it's
weeks?
always weird of like the balance of, trying to take a break because it's your off season and work on that while also like getting ready for preseason coming up. Like I took my little bit of time off right after my season and I'm kind of ramping it back up and trying to get ready for the next season.
Perfect. So the whole point of these conversations is to get a glimpse into a lot of different athletes' kind of development stories, how they got to where they are now. I'm looking forward to rehashing maybe some stories and maybe hearing a couple that I haven't heard before. So kind of starting us off, do you have a initial basketball or even just sporting memory from childhood or late childhood that kind of stands out as the beginning of all of this?
I know like one of my earliest basketball memories is just like my dad's a huge college basketball fan. So just watching March Madness, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. for like 3 or 4 straight days in March. Just love watching college basketball.
Do you have a first tournament that you remember kind of vividly?
The Gordon Hayward half court shot that almost went in against
Yep.
Duke. Yeah, I remember. I was like, I don't know how old I would have been. Like, I don't remember the game at all, but I remember
2010,
seeing
I believe.
my dad's a big North Carolina fan, and so like he was cheering against Duke, and so seeing how that shot like was so close to knocking Duke off the top there.
I think the first one I remember is at least remembering the guys is I think I remember the Emeka Okafor Yukon team.
Yeah,
They're like '04 or something. But yeah, what a turn like the imagination of a kid.
yeah.
Um, and then kind of just continue on with the childhood team um, from 6 through let's say 14, 15. What did your athletic endeavors feature?
Like what kind of sports I played,
Yeah,
or yeah, like growing up, like I played anything I could. Like I played hockey when I was younger. I played soccer. And then I went to NBCI and transitioned into like more basketball, volleyball, which was there. And then my friends played flag football. As you know, I've been getting into golf with you a little bit. I just bought like pickleball paddles for the summer. Like I'm a sports fanatic, and I think a lot of that's helped me with my basketball because taking different things from each sport, like in different ways that you may not realize correlate and translate into different aspects of basketball or like leadership or being a part of a team. I think that whole playing lots of sports for as long as you can and specializing in one as late as possible helps you out.
yeah, I know myself and my buddy Coleman. We've talked a bunch recently on the transfer of soccer to basketball, and like one kind of underlooked way is the way that soccer players see the field and like their way they
Mm.
pass is a little bit different than basketball. And I can imagine sports like soccer or sports like hockey would be um, you're hitting moving targets all the time.
For sure.
So then you get into middle school, you get into the high school. You mentioned being there at NBCI. What was the at what point did you make that switch to like, oh, I'm gonna take basketball a little bit more seriously? Obviously, you played high or volleyball at the highest level you could until the end of high school. But what was the point of like, hey, I'm gonna choose or I'm gonna take basketball a little bit more seriously?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely responsible for a lot of that. Like, so like for those of you that don't know, I used to get dropped off at school at NBCI at like 7:30 in the morning and or even like early 7:15. And we didn't start class till 8:30. So I'd be at school for like an hour 15 in the morning, nobody else there, doing nothing. And so in grade like seven, I just started going to the gym. Our custodian would leave out like some basketballs. I'd just shoot around, like just in my regular clothes. I didn't want to break a sweat, like just whatever, not very serious. And Matt would start coming early and he's like, hey, like, why don't you bring a change of clothes and actually try to get better instead of just fooling around? And then, from there we'd go like, every morning or as many times we could before school for like an hour like every day for like grades like 8 maybe to like grade 10 or 11. And that's kind of when I first started taking it seriously and getting like extra work with somebody and realizing that, hey, like I love this. I enjoy, coming in early and getting a good workout in before everybody else.
Yeah, those mornings are really special to look back on. Um, I think what was cool is we eventually got to the point we had like 3 to 6 guys that were
Mhm.
pretty consistent in coming out. Um, and I've been on a bit of a rant recently about what you do with a coach is great, but that's kind of the barrier of entry. I remember being in grade 9 through 12, and I heard the stories of guys going to school or going to early before school, um, but I didn't really believe it. And then
Yeah.
also, I had teammates at Red River and beyond that told me their story, and I was like, oh, so what I thought was like people just making that up was
Yeah.
um, also during that time. I want to pick your brain on this. Is we started to have some pickup games with some of the older guys in the city, some university and graduated university players. And one of the aspects of me hosting it was I told the people coming out that I'm like, hey, I'm bringing some of the kids along. Do you remember what your thought process was those first couple pickup games? You must have been like 14 or 15 playing against.
Yeah, I remember being awful. Like just like I'm like this I wasn't the same height as a lot of these guys who are like bigger guards or wings. I'm more of a forward, right? So I'm like, I'd shoot the occasional three here and just my goal was more try to not mess up and not be seen. When the more I did it, the more I learned that, hey, like, this is such a great opportunity to get better and make mistakes against these kind of players. And then, you kind of work into now I'm one of those guys, right? Playing against the younger guys. And I've been in their shoes. So I think it's easier for me to try to, if there's a high school kid who's being timid, who I've seen play before, I know he's a good player, you can try to encourage him more like, hey, like, I've seen you play. Like, I know you can compete with these guys. Like, don't be shy. Like, be aggressive, play your game. And like, I've been in your shoes. Like, so I think it's really cool just to, have that opportunity to play against guys who are where you aspire to be as a younger guy. And then on the other end of that, being able to try to give back and help some of these younger kids who are in those same shoes I was when I was younger.
The basketball community in Manitoba, Winnipeg on specifically, what's cool is because it's small enough. If kids want to, they can build relationships uh, with guys such as yourself
Mhm.
now, or guys that came, the justices, the AJs, and the this is a side tangent. We hadn't spoken about this potentially being coming up. Is there anything that a kid could do, or maybe a do not do, if they're looking to reach out and to strike up a conversation, strike up a relationship?
Uh, just be a sponge, right? Like, even if you don't necessarily agree with what some of these guys, like everybody's path is different, right? Like maybe what somebody tells you from their experience may not apply to you at all, or you may disagree with, but if you just kind of say that, yeah, like, I don't agree with you, or I don't think this is right, like it's not going to make anybody want to help you anymore, right? So just be like, and maybe even if they share this big thing and you don't think a lot of it's applicable, maybe you can find one small thing that can help you and just, don't burn bridges, right? Like the more relationships you have with these people who are where you want to be is better. You just have more outlets, more communication, more, people who can help you. And even if you take one small thing, it's better than nothing.
Awesome. Now we'll get into kind of the later part of the high school career. You obviously had some cool moments. What were one or two eye-opening experiences of either, hey, I'm pretty good at this, like this is something I can do long term, or hey, this is not I maybe had a wrong uh, or too high of a view of myself, or maybe those are the same thing.
Yeah, I got kind of two moments in my career where I kind of realized, hey, this basketball thing can take me somewhere. So when I was grade 8, I tried for the grade 9 provincial team. Didn't think I was gonna make it. And ended up making it kind of as the 12th man. And all summer, I would say I was clearly the worst guy on that team of the 12 guys. I was a year younger, and I was like, man, like every practice, I'm just like, don't make mistakes, try to fit in, be aggressive at times and whatever. And I came back to high school in my grade 9 year, and just playing against other kids my age, I didn't realize how much better I'd gotten that summer, just playing against older guys every day for 4 months. And so that's when I kind of realized, hey, like, man, I'm pretty good. I'm one of the best guys my age. One, I made that team, and two, I'm dominating kids my age. I'm pretty good. And then when I played in the EYBL, right, like I'm a kid from Winnipeg, and I'm playing against all these future NBA guys and Division 1 guys who are like Power Five, got 5-star all these offers. And you see on Instagram, so and so step back three, huge dunk. Then you see them play a whole game in person, or you guard them in person, or they're guarding you in person, and you kind of realize like you can't believe everything you see on social media. Like, yeah, these guys are talented and they're athletic, and not taking anything away from that, but like I'm pretty good myself and I can hang with these guys. And if I maybe played with them for 3 years opposed to one, you realize that earlier and you kind of change your mindset where it's more realistic your goals of making it that high, and you can kind of just like see that you're on that level, and it kind of really opens your eye like, hey, I'm just as good as so and so who's playing at Kentucky or Duke or was just a 20th overall pick in the NBA draft, and we're just on different paths.
Right.
Like, but where like, I was guarding him and I outplayed him or something like that. Like it was really eye-opening, and that kind of made me think, wow, like again, like I'm pretty good. Like I can hang with some of the best kids my age in the world.
The I think you'll remember this conversation we had. It was your grade 11 year. It was in the blue gym, and I think it was after a practice, and we'd kind of discussed the basketball volleyball thing. We had some national team stuff I think for volleyball, or some talk of that at the time. Um, and I remember, and I'll see if you remember how you felt with this conversation, but we talked that your ceiling, your ceiling was the NBA, and it wasn't that you were necessarily going to make it there, but the chance was there, and it would be a disservice to like not acknowledge um, that as like a is a potential of one of your paths.
Yeah.
Um, just wanted to see if you remember that conversation, what your thoughts were, and like how that um, the mindset of like again playing against these guys that were future NBA guys and Power Five guys, like what what your takeaways were from that.
Yeah, like I remember that conversation very briefly, like not the details of it, but like maybe like it happening. And just so much of it is just like I struggle with my game is like confidence. Like if I miss my first two or three shots, I get in my head, I don't shoot it the same way I do when I just hit one, and I become less aggressive. And that's one of the things that like NBA guy. You see, like Dion Waiters over what said, rather go 0 for 20 than 0 for 3 or something. 'Cause it means you never lost confidence. And honestly, that's the kind of mindset you need if you want to play at that level. Like, guys have bad games. What are you going to do about it? How else are you going to contribute? How else are you going to still help your team win? And you know what? Like, if you've put in the work, it'll click. You'll find your shot when it matters the most in the fourth quarter, even if you've missed your last 10, right? So just having that confidence in your abilities and the work that you've put in, can go so far and can really get you anywhere.
This is gonna wrap up. Um, Obviously, I'm one of the coaches you've had in your past. You've had a number of others. Is there any tidbits from specific coaches that have stuck with you over the years? And what are you still taking from your coaches from the past?
Yeah. Yeah. Like Hervé Vincent coached me in junior bisons, and he was so big on like everybody learns everything. So as a taller, lumbering, clumsy kid in grade 5 and 6, I was shooting threes, I was dribbling, I was doing through the legs dribbles, driving, jump, everything that our point guards were doing. And then like if you do that for long enough, then you get better in high school. And then he even came back a couple times with U of M, and I worked out with him a couple times here, and just back to like the basics. Like I'm working on like, you know, self toss, jump stop, pump fake, pass back to him, right? And you do 10 reps of that. You think like there's kids who are in grade six who are like, oh, this is too easy for me. I'm not doing this. I'm working on step back threes. Where it's like, I had a great year at university and now I'm working on jump stops and pump fake, jab, pass back, jump stop, pump fake, jab, pass back, drive, get off 2 feet, do a regular layup. Like just back to these fundamental things that like you can never be like good enough at the fundamentals. And I think like Coach Kirby says, I can't remember the exact wording, but like extraordinary players do ordinary things extraordinarily,
Yep.
right? And like ordinary players make the like ordinary things look extraordinarily hard or some along those lines where it's just like great players do the simple things great is the gist of it, right? And so like, going back to those kind of fundamentals, like you'll always use them, you always need them, and you can never be good enough at those.
Awesome. Well, that's gonna be basically it. I am. We spoke about this last year. I was so happy for you that first that home opener.
Yeah.
Your ability to run out into a professional floor, looked like you belonged. And I think the coolest part of my summer last summer was the workout with EJ after the game in an open or an empty professional arena, because like you said at the beginning, it started as 7:15 at
Yeah. Hey, more of that this summer. I'm gonna still keep that tradition rolling.
and I hope to sneak on the floor a time or two as well. Um, Perfect. That's what I wanted to get through today. Enjoy the rest of the weekend,
Yeah,
and
me too.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.